Everything has changed. With Griffin Canning unfortunately going down for the year with an awful Achilles tear, this has certainly put the team in a bind in terms of the starting rotation. But is it all doom and gloom throughout the roster? Well, in response, just today the Mets have already made a flurry of moves. A bunch of changes are coming, and there have already been a bunch of transactions. I am Adam Choit, a new host here on Mets Digest, and before we break it all down, I want you guys to take a quick second to take a look at this statistic right here. Nearly 70% of you guys watching these videos are not subscribed, so please remember to click the subscribe button. That is definitely appreciated for sure. So let's get into it. Like I was saying, and like I was asking, is it all doom and gloom? I don't think so, because look at this right here. What is this we see here? The Mets are back in first place, a half a game ahead of the Phillies. So that is quite nice to see. They have won 2 in a row after their long losing streak, which seems very much in the rear view mirror. Let's dive into some of the transactions the Mets made today in response to the Griffin Canning injury and more. They placed Griffin Canning on the 60-day DL. He is going to be out for the year. Jose Azocar has signed to a minor league contract. Vientos is coming back. Mark Vientos, Swaggy V, is returning to the roster. He is in the lineup tonight. More on that tonight. They've also purchased the contract of Colin Poche from Syracuse. Jared Young was sent down to make room for Vientos. Richard Lovelady was outrighted to Syracuse. Austin Warren was also sent back to Syracuse. And the Mets recalled right-handed pitcher Blake Tidwell from Syracuse as well. As you may have observed, with Jared Young going down, that means that Ronnie Mauricio is going to stick with the team, because there was some talk, of course, about Beatty or Mauricio potentially going down to the minors. So it is nice to see that Ronnie Mauricio is staying with the team. He's started to hit a little bit the last few days, hitting the ball hard. I see a couple of 2-hit games in there lately for him. So it is nice to see the youth on the team, and it is good to see a good balance of youth and veterans on the Mets. The best teams tend to be built, of course, from the ground up with homegrown talent. So hopefully Mauricio can get more consistent with the bat, and it's going to be a competition for the team. It's going to be competitive between Beatty and Mauricio and Vientos and all these guys for playing time and for at-bats, and I think it's a good thing. And I think that the Mets definitely plan. I believe that Carlos Mendoza plans to use all these guys. They wouldn't be here if Mauricio wasn't going to get at-bats. If Beatty wasn't going to get at-bats, they weren't going to be here. And they're obviously going to play Jeff McNeil a lot in center field as well. But let's continue to dive into some of the analysis from these transactions and moves today. It's interesting to look at the competition between the young guys with Vientos and Beatty and Mauricio, because looking here at their OPSs, they are eerily similar. Mauricio's at 676, Beatty's at 677, and Vientos is at 678. You cannot make this stuff up. Excuse me. But yes, all of these OPSs are definitely signs that these three players have been underperforming, but they are well within range of performing much better. They all have talent. We can see that. Vientos has proven it at the major league level over the course of last season, being, of course, one of the most clutch hitters on the team, coming down the home stretch and into the postseason. Hopefully he's able to lay off some of those sliders when he returns tonight, as the Mets are in Pittsburgh this evening. But let's look at a little deeper here into, these are Vientos' statistics. As you can see, last year, an 837 OPS, a 3.2 WAR. He was just a beast last year, 27 home runs, and we are all hoping that he can continue to perform well and come back from injury and just be a great contributor to the team. We all want to see that. This guy here, he's going to get plenty of at-bats too, like I was saying with McNeil in center field, Brett Beatty. He's going to be a contributor, the Mets are hoping, from the left side of the plate. Carlos Mendoza has a lot of tools, a lot of options to play with, and I think that's really what it takes if you want to build a championship team, is all 26 guys have to contribute. I always think back as a long-term Mets fan to some of the more successful teams that the Mets had, the World Series teams, of course, in 2015 and in 2000, and even the 2006 Mets that were meant to go to the World Series. All of those teams had something in common, and that was that they got contributions really from all 26 players up and down the roster. That's what it takes. All hands on deck, especially throughout this season. It takes more than that, as teams are finding out, as you have to build a rotation that goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus pitchers deep just to deal with the injuries over the course of a season. But in terms of the responding to whether it's doom and gloom with the Canning injury, there are some more positives to dig into when it comes to the Mets. I wanted to look a little deeper into the bullpen situation because, well, you know what? Let's look at the lineup first here, because I wanted to show you guys that tonight's lineup, assuming the game is going to be played tonight, I know the weather is a little bit questionable here in Pittsburgh, but just looking here tonight, it is really cool to see Vientos, Beatty, and Mauricio all in the lineup together. And I'm sure that in their own minds that they had thought that might not even be possible, that the Mets might not even be able to keep all three guys on the roster, let alone see them in the lineup at the same time. It just goes to show how versatile McNeil really is. You know, he really is, and that's a good thing. That gives Mendoza so much flexibility, knowing McNeil can play infield. The man can play every single position. I think Vientos is the third catcher now, but wouldn't be surprised if Jeff McNeil is the fourth catcher on the team. But it is definitely a cool thing to see that the lineup has all three of those young guys in it tonight. And speaking of the lineup, and in response to the is it doom and gloom question, the Mets are the only team in the major leagues that has four players with 15-plus home runs, with Nimmo with 15, Lindor with 16, Alonso with 18, and Soto with 19. So the power is starting to show itself with the Mets, and that's another positive thought when it comes to the Griffin Canning situation and some of the injuries with the team, is that just the track record for this team with the Mets, and in baseball in general, bats heat up as the weather gets warmer, and it's certainly been warm in New York over the past few days, and I believe in the Northeast as well. So it's good to see the power starting to come. Soto has just been a beast in June. But I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into one other player who's on the mend, and that's Jesse Winker. Here's per SNY, a tweet from SNY. A post, rather. Carlos Mendoza says Jesse Winker's batting practice looked normal. No hesitation, just going through his normal routine. He's not favoring anything. He's scheduled to start DHing on Sunday, and most likely here in Brooklyn. So he's on the mend too. That's great to see. Vibes are real. It's a real thing. These are human beings. These are not machines. And it matters. You can already see. I already saw some photos of Mark Vientos, who's rejoined the team in Pittsburgh. And it looks very upbeat around the team. And I think Jesse Winker can provide some of those additional good vibes, as, of course, Jesse is a fan favorite with the team. And apparently, of course, a fan favorite with the rest of the roster as well. So that is good to see that Jesse Winker is coming back. And let's even take a look at a statistic, because I think some of us can forget actually how good of a player that this guy actually is and how good of a hitter he is, looking at his career numbers. This man has an .803 career OPS. That is super duper solid. And Carlos Mendoza does a good job at putting him into situations and positions where he can succeed, giving him the majority of his at-bats, of course, against right-handed pitching, as Jesse does tend to struggle against left-handed pitching. So it is good to see, that Jesse Winker is on the mend as well. But one more thing I did want to dig deeper into is Dedniel Núñez and his return to the team, because that dude has been straight dominant really throughout his career. So that man is definitely an X factor. So let's dig into some quotes and some things that have come out about him returning from injury and his performance. Here's a quote from John Flanagan of SNY. Dedniel Núñez followed that up, referring to his most recent performance against Atlanta, with arguably his best outing of the season, retiring all 6 batters he faced over 2 scoreless innings of his own and striking out the side in the top of the 7th. Núñez looked back to his dominant form from last year, and he's now gone 7 consecutive appearances without allowing a run. And that is no fluke. This is a talented pitcher we are talking about right here. And I want to share a couple of more quotes about Núñez. This is from the man himself. First of all, I'm just grateful to God for my health, but today I felt really good. I was able to attack the hitters like I did last year, and I was really just able to focus in on executing my pitches, and I was able to help the team in any way I could. That is great to see. Then Núñez, probably the best we've seen him out of him, more like the Núñez we saw last year consistently. The velo, the slider, throwing strikes. I wanted to stay away from Stanek, but him coming in there with just 7 pitches and then Sugar finishing it off, just a hell of a job from the bullpen. So that's a quote from Carlos Mendoza with some broader thoughts about the pen and their very solid, let's say great performance last night against Atlanta. So maybe it isn't all doom and gloom for the pitching for the Mets, especially in the rotation at the moment. But I want to share one more quote here. This is from Andy Martino of SNY, echoing some of the positive sentiments that I'm sharing with you about the state of the roster despite the Canning injuries and some of the other issues on the team. If the team can keep Holmes right, that's the rotation might just remain stable. Relief pitching is a significant concern, but it was at many points last summer too. Remember, it's a long season. Maybe the strong performances from Dedniel Núñez and Austin Warren on Thursday can signal a slowing of the daily bullpen carousel. And that's Andy Martino from SNY. So, yes, there are plenty of reasons for positive things from the Mets, for positivity. I wanted to also, let's share Dedniel Núñez's statistics because they are worth checking out. Let's see if I can dig those up for you. There they are right here. Let's get a closer look at those. This man has pitched only 43 innings in his career, which is not a ton of innings, not a huge sample size, 25 games last year and only 8 this year, but the numbers are just eye-popping, to say the least. A .95 whip. This man has 56 strikeouts in 43 innings, 14 walks, which isn't awful, especially given the amount of hits he's given up as well, which is just 27 in 43 innings, which is excellent too. So he is definitely a welcome sight coming out of the Mets pen and just straight up capable of dominance. And this man, even not for the Mets per se, and hopefully Diaz has many years of being the closer for the Mets. But Dedniel Núñez also has closer stuff, and it's an excellent addition to the Mets pen. That is certainly the case. In conclusion, I'd like to remind you guys to subscribe, like, comment, share. Please let us know what you think in the comments. That is definitely appreciated. And let's go Mets.